Well, welcome everyone. Today is a special Wednesday because we are back with a series on different topics which we bring for mental health and domestic abuse, and we are delighted to have a special guest, Charu Aggarwal, today. She has been a facilitator for mental wellness and domestic abuse across many organizations. Welcome, Charu, because today is also a special topic that you'll be covering. Uh, so, would you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you, Pramila, and thank you for having me today on your talk. I'm Charu Aggarwal. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for listening in. I am a principal at an LLC that I have, CASO LLC, and I have 20 plus years experience working in nonprofits, local governments, mainly doing family strengthening programs, creating programs for immigrants, and supporting their needs with resources, and also doing mental health advocacy across the nation. Thank you. Thanks, Pramila.
Well, we are delighted to have you, Charu, and I know you're going to bring in a wealth of information. And to all our viewers and listeners who are watching this, the topic for today is mental health and relationships. So, Charu, a lot of concerns have come up from our clients, and I understand you're going to share a slideshow. We have also received a lot of questions from our clients. So let's go with the slides, and then we'll cover up all of the questions brought by our clients.
Thank you, Pramila. So again, hello everyone, and I put together some slides just to keep the flow going and just so that I can give as much information today as I can. You already heard about me. So, how does today's topic, mental health and its effects on relationships, especially intimate relationships like marriage, right? How does mental health affect our relationships? As we all know, that mental health, both positive and negative, can affect an individual and influence communication, can influence empathy, kindness, connection. And these all qualities or all these traits can actually affect intimate partner relationships or any kind of relationship, whether it's a spouse relationship, or whether it's a child and a parent relationship, or an in-law relationship. Mental health does play a very crucial role in these relationships. I'll give a little snapshot of what mental some of the mental illnesses, what they can look like, and how they can affect our relationships. So depression, let's for example, you all must have heard about depression, which is a very common mental illness. So it leads to withdrawal, lack of communication, emotional disconnection. When a person is depressed, it's really hard for the person to be connected to someone, for example, and that can impact our relationship with our loved ones. Anxiety, it triggers fear of abandonment, excessive worrying, controlling behavior. There's a lot of insecurity when somebody is anxious. The higher the level of anxiety, and it's really hard to, be connected to your partners, to be connected to your children. And there's always a lot of excessive worrying, which can really destroy relationships, or at least make the other partner feel very, I won't say very anxious themselves, although anxiety of one person can trickle down to another person, but can make them feel very angry. They might feel that they are being controlled for their behaviors. PTSD. PTSD can cause trust issues. There's difficulty in emotional regulation and avoidance. And PTSD, it can be all these mental illnesses, by the way, can be treated either with therapy or medication, or with different types of therapies. Bipolar disorder. It creates emotional highs and lows, making it hard to maintain stability. So, if somebody has bipolar disorder, one would find it very hard to have stable relationships. Substance abuse, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a substance that someone is using, it breaks down trust, it increases conflict, it fosters codependency. So when somebody abuses a substance, for example, alcoholic person, it can be very detrimental to intimate partner relationships. Many things. First of all, very important thing is the other person feels like they have to be the caregiver for this person. There's no trust, and they're always like in the caregiver mode. Impact on communication. So, how do these mental illnesses impact our intimate partner relationships, right? Communication, which plays a big role in any kind of relationship. Again, whether it's intimate relationship, whether it's parent and child relationship, communication is a big factor which builds or destroys relationships. So, mental health challenges can often hinder open and honest communication. We see when there's mental illness, open and honest communications are hard. There's a lot of misunderstanding, frustration, there's unspoken emotions, and which can lead to increased conflict. There's always fighting going on, there's arguments because there's no open communication. And it can be simple things. It can be simple things like, hey, you said you would do grocery today and you forgot about it. And a person who's going through depression may not feel like going to the store and getting food, and then hence increases the chores on the other partner. Or it can be big things. There can be a lot of misunderstanding because there was no clear communication about something. Difficulty in expressing needs and concerns due to mental health issues. People find it very difficult to express their needs when there's mental health. But it is very important to have mindful listening and clear communication for healing. So, we'll talk a little bit about healing towards the end. We'll talk about how to support someone in your family who's going through mental illness or mental health issues, challenges, and it's very important to keep communication open and clear. So, emotional distance in relationship. Now, when somebody has mental health challenges, as simple as it can be very small or they can be big, but they will emotionally it will create emotional distance in relationships. Like mental health struggles may cause partners or family members to feel disconnected, difficulty in providing or receiving emotional support during times of stress, lack of intimacy and emotional vulnerability when dealing with mental health issues. Like, for example, when somebody is mentally distressed or having a mental health challenge, they will find it very hard to be intimate with a partner. You don't want to be close to the partner. You want to be left alone most of the time, and it becomes really difficult to be in an intimate relationship when somebody is having mental illness that is left untreated. And so it can create a lot of emotional distance in relationships. So, role of trust in relationships, and trust also is affected by mental illness. So, mental health conditions like anxiety or PTSD can undermine trust. People can be always on their, walking on their eggshells, and they can say, like, they can be very anxious and worrying all the time, and the trust is lost in a relationship, and that's not going to do any good to the relationship. Erratic behaviors, mood swings, they can be stability challenges in relationship. Erratic behaviors, hot and cold, you're good one day and not good the other day. Your partner is behaving really good with you one day and is violent the other day, and this can lead to a lot of breaking down of trust in intimate partner relationships. Trust may be damaged due to secrecy, avoidance, unpredictability caused by mental health issues. So it's important to be keep all it's important to be transparent in an intimate partner relationship. It's important to receive help so you can be build trust in a intimate partner relationship. Let's talk about caregiver burnout. Partners or family members of individuals with mental health challenges may experience burnout. Now, if you are a partner if you're a partner of somebody who has mental health challenge and you are the one who's left to take care of this person, you yourself can start feeling burnout. Emotional exhaustion, frustration, helplessness in supporting loved ones. If you feel that person is not, their health is not improving, their mental health is not improving, you can feel very distressed. You can feel like, very frustrated if that person refuses to take medication or go for therapy, for example. Caregivers' mental health may deteriorate without proper boundaries or self care. Let's talk about boundaries. It's very important in any kind of relationship, whether mental illness is present or not. It's very, very important to form boundaries, right? Form boundaries not just for the other person, but also for yourself. Now, for example, you have chores around the house. Suppose you are, you are a married person. You have your spouse living with you, and you have children living with you, and you have chores that are allocated to each person in the house. If one person is going through mental illness, suppose it's your spouse's turn to take out the garbage, mow the lawn, and etc., and refuses to do so because that person is depressed and is just sitting on the couch flicking channels because there's no desire to do anything and doesn't have the energy to do, it can leave the caregiver with a lot of burnout. Now, not just taking care of this person, but also all the chores have fallen on you. And it can deteriorate relationships. It can make very, uh, you know, t- uh, to keep intimate partner relationships, to keep marriages alive, it can be very challenging when one person is left to do everything by themselves. Let's, we talked about mental illnesses, its impact on, marriages, its impact on many relationships. Let's talk about how can you strengthen by keeping positive mental health. How can you strengthen your relationships? First of all, we talked about communication. Now, clear communication is a key to very healthy relationships. And keep your communication open. Talk about your struggles. Talk about challenges. A simple way of doing that is when you come back from work every day, sit down together over a cup of tea, over a cup of lemon juice or a glass of lemon juice or whatsoever. Sit down in your garden and talk about your day. Talk to each other, share how your day was, what your stresses are. Sometimes the other person will have some good advice to give to you, and also by sharing you feel and other by sharing and by listening, which both go hand in hand, you will feel supported. So keep your communications open. If you feel the other person, don't keep them in the dark. The communication, clear communication also means don't keep the other person in the dark. Tell them about stuff that's important. Stuff that you feel is trivial may not be trivial to them. So openly share. Emotional intimacy and openness. Show emotions to each other. I think in any marriage or any intimate partner relationship, everything really depends on how emotional you are with each other, right? So show emotions to each other. Share what's, by sharing and by sharing your emotions, showing your emotions, you can really strengthen your relationship. Mutual support, kindness, understanding. Understand where the other person is coming from. Understand the mental illness part of their lives. Provide support. Be kind. Give a listening ear to them. Resilience in the face of life's challenges. Show resilience. Build resilience. Tell your partner you're there for them, or have your partner support you if you're the one who's going through mental illness. Now, how to foster healthy relationships? There are many ways to foster healthy relationships. Having healthy practices every day in your life is one way of fostering healthy relationships. Investing in self care is another way of fostering healthy relationships. Once I was talking to someone in one of the presentations, and the lady said, I'm a mother, and I feel like if I do something for myself, I feel selfish. And there was a nurse practitioner who worked in a psychiatrist unit, and then she shared something. She said, you should feel selfful by doing something, not selfish, because you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your own mental health, so you can be a very healthy, a holistically healthy caregiver, and that is not being selfish. So invest in your self care, especially if you're a caregiver. If you're living with someone with mental illness, remember you need to take care of yourself. It's very important to maybe go for that walk, take care of your plants, your garden, or whatever brings you joy. if reading a book, spend some me time with yourself. Go for yoga if that's what you like, go running, whatever brings you joy. Do remember to invest in that um, uh, that routine in your life. Make it a routine. Actually, I always tell people I talk to, and this is something that I practice myself, I never go to bed without doing something that made me happy that day. And it can be a craft, it can be something I really enjoy doing, or reading a good book, going for a walk, something that makes me happy. Do it every day. Invest in yourself so you can be a better human being and you can give. You can't really pour from an empty cup. So make sure your cup is full. Encourage open communication about mental health. Sit down as a family, sit down with your partner every day and talk. Even if you don't have too much time, spend that 15 minutes, maybe over dinner. Sit down, cook dinner together. For example, that's a very good way of bringing families together, investing in good relationships. Cook dinner together, fix meals together, fix your lunch boxes together, clean the house together, do something together, which also gives you an opportunity to talk to each other. Practice patience, kindness, active listening. When somebody is talking to you, suppose your partner is talking to you, show interest, be actively involved in listening. Don't cut them off. Don't think, don't say, oh, I think I know what you're going through. No, let them say what they're going through. Support professional mental health care, therapy, and counseling. Destigmatize mental health in your families. Destigmatize mental health talk in your families. Break that cycle. There is so much therapy available now, different kinds of therapy. Encourage people to receive therapy. Make that the top priority in your list if you think someone in your family has mental health challenges. Maintain boundaries, like we talked about, maintain boundaries. Don't be the one doing everything. Give maybe small chores to someone who's going through mental illness and you think they can't do big chores. Give them small chores, let them do a little bit of lifting, even if it's not the heaviest lifting around your house they do. Engage in shared activities that promote well-being. Maybe go for a walk together. That has really helped couples. Go for a walk together, go for a run together. When you're going for a walk together, you get so much time with each other without any interruptions, and it can be very you know it can be instrumental in building, fostering good relationships. Mindfulness, practice mindfulness together. As simple as printing some coloring pages and just sitting down and coloring those pages together. Just simple activities, but find time to set aside in the day to put towards your self-care and your partner's self-care. Couple or family therapy. If you haven't thought about it, read up. I mean, Google, find a therapist, shop around for a good therapist, invest in family therapy. Family therapy is shown very good results in our communities. I think it's very important to invest time in having someone help you as a couple. And even if you're not involved in an intimate partner relationship, but you're looking to get involved at some point and you are the one who is suffering from mental illness, you must always seek a therapist and it might take it might take you a few times to find a good therapist, but try to invest some time in finding a good therapist for yourself. If you're not the one who's going through mental illness, it's your partner, find a therapist for them, but also look into some support groups and therapy for yourself. Because as a caregiver, you would need therapy yourself as well. Support groups. There are so many free support groups available all over the country. Call your local mental health organizations. NAMI, for example, National Alliance on Mental Illness, has a lot of support groups locally available. Join them. Join the caregiver, peer-to-peer, family, any support group or your own community support groups. If you don't have one in your local area, these days it's so easy to create your own. Get your friends together who are like-minded, who are going through these struggles. You could just start a support group on Zoom. Educate yourself, go to the local library and find resources. Importance on destigmatizing, like I said, destigmatize mental health conversation at your home. Talk about mental health and say that you believe in holistic health. You want to invest in mental health. Destigmatize the talk, not just with your spouses, with your children. You might think, for example, that your children are privileged, you're providing everything to them, but they might be going through their own mental health challenges, and it's not easy to live with someone who has mental health at home. So it trickles down, and we'll talk a little bit about intergenerational trauma later. Resources for therapy and support. There are lots of resources for therapy and support. There's lots of websites available now. If you Google, you will find a lot of therapists in your area specializing in the topics that you are looking for. So take out some time to do that research and invest in good therapy for yourself or your family, if that's what you want. If you think you would rather spend some time first taking care of yourself, investing in your self-care, going for family outings together, then that's what you start with. Start small. Don't think you have to do like huge you have to take big steps to really take care of your relationship to make it healthy. Start with baby steps, because again, remember, when somebody is going through mental illness, it is very hard to make big decisions, it's very hard to make big changes. So take baby steps. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your family member who's going through mental illness. So let's talk a little bit about intergenerational trauma and its effect on healthy relationships and mental health. So intergenerational trauma is when somebody has, a trauma in the family, and then it's passed down from generation to generation. So suppose, let's say, your grandparents immigrated to this country and they had no resources. They felt very isolated. That time, they didn't even have a huge community, for example. They didn't have their place of worship. That could have been very, very traumatic. So now, and your grandmother was staying home and was, there was some domestic violence involved. There was gender inequality. All those things can affect, can be traumatic to someone. So maybe when she was raising your mother, that trauma was passed down to your mother, and now it's passed down to you. So when the trauma is passed down from generation to generation, that's intergenerational trauma. It's hard to break the cycle for intergenerational trauma, but it's not impossible. People do that very successfully. By doing what? By having very open communication, having open communication with your family members, calling them out in a respectful way about what they're doing to you with their trauma, and just seeking help, maybe together or maybe just separately, and investing in your self-care. Let's talk about resources, how some resources can help you. Finding resources that can help you with healthy relationships is very, very important. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. If you feel your loved one is going through mental illness and is violent or verbally abusive to you, that's the hotline to call. It's confidential. There's mental wellness support groups. There are many organizations that provide support groups, and all the information can be found on their websites. And I think because we will have the recording, so everyone will have access to these resources. There's Desi Rainbow Parents and Allies for LGBTQ folks. There's NAMI. If you're a South Asian, there's Samheen. And NAMI is for everyone, all ethnicities. Then there are some books that you can read to foster healthy relationships. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, Self-Compassion, Hold Me Tight, Nonviolent Communication to learn some effective ways of communicating, Saya Unveiled, there's Letters to My Brown Mother, there's Marriage of a Thousand Lies, and Taboo. So with that, I end my presentation and I'll open the floor for any questions.
Thank you so much, Charu. That was very informational, and you did cover a lot because when clients come up with such concerns, every case is different, every person is different, but I think what you have shared is an umbrella of resources and strategies that couples or anyone who's in a relationship will be able to use. We did get a couple of questions, so I know we have just a few minutes, but let me share. The questions came in anonymously.
Okay.
How does trauma such as past abuse or neglect influence current relationships, and what can be done to heal those effects? Knowing what has happened. There's no way to fix it, but that past abuse affects the current relationships.
Yeah, but it's a very good question. And it's one of the main questions where, like I was talking about intergenerational abuse, trauma, or even like past abuse. Past abuse can really adversely affect intimate partner relationships, not just intimate partner relationships, but all kinds of relationships, right? Even at work, your past abuse can manifest itself in a very negative way. Parent child relationship, for example. So it is very important to, I know past is past, right? We like to say past is past, but in this case, it needs to be addressed. I think getting therapy would be the first step to really addressing past trauma. We have open communication with the family members, telling them, sharing about your past trauma. Like if I have a trauma in my life, I share it with my kids. Maybe not going through all the, if it can be shared with my children who are grown up. For example, you have to know, you have to make the right decision, you have to make the right call. Yeah, you can't, when I say that, I don't mean that you should be burdening your children with your past trauma at an early age, but at some point in life, you might want to discuss it with your family members that you're seeking therapy, for example, for your past trauma. But the first step is to address the past trauma. Sometimes we just let it be buried, and but it does manifest in our behaviors. It comes out in our relationships and all kinds of relationships. So seek therapy, I would say, would be your first solution to really getting at the bottom of the past trauma and how you can help yourself. So seeking therapy would be the first one.
So, till on that particular statement which you mentioned, so when one of the partner is going through mental health concerns, one of the spouse mentioned that it's really difficult for him or her to convince the other person that let's try therapy. A treatment will help, medication would help, but the refusal to so, or basically not acknowledging that, brings in more trauma. Do you have any suggestions or strategies to tackle that issue?
Yeah, Pramila, and that is a very common issue, especially with some of the communities where mental health is still a very big stigma. It's hard, and especially for males. Here, the gender plays a big role. Especially for males, it's very hard to seek therapy because the way the males are raised in some communities, some ethnicities, and many. I mean, even in mainstream communities over here, you'll find males will be the last ones seeking therapy. But I think taking baby steps, just talking to them, maybe not in a very a direct manner, but an indirect manner. So try the scenarios. Like my so and so friend was going through this issue, and she or he seeked help, and there's a huge. I see a huge change in their behavior. Would you like to try something? Or would you like to try family therapy with me? Do you want to come with me to a therapist to support me? How about make the issue about yourself in the beginning so the person can then be open if it's not just about that person, right? Maybe invest time in couple therapy. Tell them how important it is for you to get therapy and start off with that. So I think just taking very small baby steps and destigmatizing mental health in your families is the key step to
So
encouraging some.
one Sure.
Yeah.
That's very helpful, Charu. One more question came in. So this is a female spouse, being very concerned about her male spouse, who, according to her, is very aggressive. So, as you said, depression, anxiety causes concerns at the person's inability to do certain tasks in a very effective manner. When that does not happen, this person becomes extremely aggressive. So, do you have any suggestions for her how to tackle that? and because of that aggression, she has chosen to be quiet and
Yeah.
deal with all of the adverse effect that has been happening to her and her children.
Yeah, yeah, no, Pramila, I feel for this person because this is now getting to intergenerational trauma, which she is going through the trauma, which is going to pass down to other generations if it is left untreated. Um, First of all, I would say to this person is be safe. Talk to on a national hotline or your local hotline and get some counseling from domestic violence agencies, because if this person is aggressive, I'm sure this person might be aggressive towards her in many ways. So get some counseling for yourself, invest in your own self-care, because it seems like you are the caregiver in many ways, where you are trying to de-escalate this person's your spouse's aggression. So try to invest in self care. Even if you feel like you can't get your husband to get help, invest in your own self care. And then there are many, many groups for men now. Where across the country there are many groups where people can talk about, just go anonymously, virtually, or even in person, and talk about their own traumas, their mental health issues, or what's bothering them, and try to get help. So
So,
try
with
to
that,
locate some local support groups. Sorry. Yeah.
absolutely. And to all the viewers and listeners watching this, we'd also like to share Sanjeevani is already running free support group every month for female. We're also beginning support group for male starting next month. These agreements are confidential, and one can join without feeling being judged by a professional. So those are again some other resources by Sanjeevani.
Yeah,
So one
thank
more
you.
thing,
Thank you,
yeah.
Pramila. That's awesome that Sanjeevani is doing that. Yeah.
Yes, we've been, I think, continuing to do for female for the last 6 years. We'll beginning for male starting next month, because mental health concerns crosses all gender, caste,
Yeah.
creed,
Mhm.
nationality. So it's a
Yeah.
concern which has to be tackled. So, in the interest of time, one concluding question: uh, how do common mental health conditions like anxiety and depression impact relationships, and what are some of the common symptoms one must look for?
So, when somebody is anxious, you can sense that there's a lot of withdrawal from the activities. They might be worried all the time. They might be hyperactive or just hyper worrying all the time. That's one of the ways to tell that the person is anxious. Like small tasks may become very big for them. They might be like, "Oh, don't go out. It's raining. Don't go out. You might meet with an accident if you're driving, even if you're going around the corner, for example." So hyper vigilant about everything is when you can say that the person is feeling very anxious. Everyone has anxiety, right? At some level or the other, everyone has anxiety. But when anxiety becomes really it becomes very large in your life, it becomes serious, that's when somebody has to be really worried about. When a person finds it hard to function with that anxiety is when you start to worry about. And then your other question was depression. Was it anxiety and depression? Yeah,
Yes.
depression. Lack of communication, lack of interest, lack of interest and intimacy in a relationship. For example, when somebody is depressed, they find it really hard to be intimate. So those are some telltale signs that the person is depressed. They might just stop talking or losing interest in the activities they were doing, commonly doing with you before. So those are some ways to tell that the person is feeling depressed or anxious.
Appreciate it, Charu. And hopefully, the person who have sent their questions, they are watching and they'll be able to get some insights. But should anyone have any additional questions, you can always reach any organization, any trusted person, any organization, or Sanjeevani at the two helplines. The helpline numbers are 224-424-0050. They can also text us at 1855 help for you too. Many thanks, Charu, for sharing all of the information. It's a very key and a very sensitive topic that we need to address. Hopefully, our audiences have found some benefit to it. Should there be any additional questions which come up, Charu, we will send it to you by email, and then perhaps you can give recommendations or suggestions for those.
Thank you, Pramila. I'll just say one thing, that be safe and please invest in self care. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Charu, and thank you all who are watching or listening or will be taking care of it later. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.